Welcome back to The Social, and it is time for our book club, The Social Chapter. Today we are discussing the novel The Vanishing Half by Brit Bennett. Jess, give us a synopsis of the novel.
So this novel explores the themes of female family bonds, shadeism, and the Black experience in America. And it follows Desiree and Stella. They're identical twins from a small Southern Black community. Now, after running away as teenagers, their lives go in radically different directions. Desiree flees an abusive marriage and winds up back in their hometown. And Stella lives in California and is pretending to be white.
Huge. Okay, so this is the part now in our social chapter where we are going to give this book a rating out of 5 and then spend 20 seconds defending it. So, Cynthia, I'm curious, what rating did you give The Vanishing Half?
Okay, so I gave this book a 3.8 out of 5, and here's why. I really found it a fascinating take on love and family and colorism, also about the secrets and lies we tell ourselves about who we are. The only reason why I didn't give it a higher rating is because I did have a bit of a hard time buying that these twins who were so close would have allowed their lives to divide in the ways that it did, and also the kind of curious happenstances that brought them back together again. Having said all that, I'm very much looking forward to seeing this story brought to life by HBO, coming soon.
I gave this book a 4.5 out of 5, and here's why. Brit Bennett is an exhilarating writer. The first act of this book was probably as exciting to me as like an exhilarating first act of a movie. I'm thinking of the opening scene of Goodfellas, for example. That's how well done it is. And when you have writing that is so cinematic, it just tells you everything you need to know about the writer. I love her, and she's going to give us more big things.
Love, 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 love. Okay, I'm next. So I gave this book a 4 out of 5, and here's why. Because the author did the impossible. She made me want to read again, and it's been a while. She gave me so much to think about, mostly how do we become the people we become? And I did feel, Lainey, kind of like you, the beginning was so good, but then the last 50 pages or so had less steam. It felt like the characters were even tired and they sort of stopped developing. But still, this book paints so many scenes and vistas that are going to be inside me for a long time.
I think we're kind of all very closely on the same page. I gave this book a 4 out of 5, and here's why. I read this book through the lens of a biracial, bicultural person myself. I felt like I was reading about parts of a biracial experience, just 2 bodies, 2 girls instead of 1. That power flows towards whiteness, the doors that open for you versus the doors that close. This was a book that illustrated systemic racism, just woven through a very heartbreaking and beautiful story.
Yeah. Okay, guys, let's talk more about the book. One of the themes that came up is this idea of shadeism. So what did it make you think about this concept?
White passing for me, because, you know, that's always been something in my life, because I am half Asian and half European, born in Canada, that internal struggle of your privilege and how you manage your privilege when you're a white passing, which for many people who look at me that way, and then you encounter some that don't. So that element for Stella and her story and the doors she's able to open because of it made me really stop and self-reflect.
I also think, you know, as members of people who are not Black, it's so important for us to understand that Black is not a monolith. Which is what the Black community has been trying to tell us for a long time. And so when you have a story like this that features so many Black characters immersed in this experience that showcase how difficult it is not only to be accepted, but accepted within your own community, and then the outside community, it's so layered and nuanced, and it's time for those of us who aren't in that community to really start understanding what that experience is like.
That's interesting, Lainey, because like as a white woman, I know about the concept of shadeism, and I know that it exists in communities around the world. But even though this was a work of fiction, I felt like it really illustrated it in a way that I hadn't completely understood before, if that makes sense.
Yeah, maybe just this is what you're talking about. For me, it's like, it was this overarching theme about how when whiteness has been positioned as a kind of ideal, in a culture, which we live in, that kind of culture that has embedded that idea of whiteness as ideal, that it impacts everybody, and that's how shadeism starts, and that how people can then judge themselves accordingly depending on the amounts of whiteness. It's a reminder of how much that has been kind of baked into the systems at work. And I hadn't thought about it much. I got to be honest. I had not really thought about it too much. And this story really, really illustrated just how nuanced and problematic it really is.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how the HBO miniseries tackles it. In the meantime, the series hasn't been cast yet. So who would you guys play? Who would you cast to play the identical twins, Desiree and Stella?
Okay, this was a tough one, but there are luckily so many amazing actresses out there. This actress is maybe less known in North America, but she's a big-time deal in the UK, where she's from. Her name is Ashley Medekwe, and she is a biracial actress. If you watched Revenge, she was sort of cast as a social climber in that. And when you look at her, depending on what pictures you look at her, in my mind, I was like, could she be a white-passing Stella, or could she be a Desiree who goes back to her hometown? And, so to me, I thought depending on the picture, she plays that duality perfectly.
And it's interesting to sometimes people forget that this person started out as an actor because another part of her life has sort of eclipsed that. But Meghan Markle was my choice as somebody who I could see in this role. I think that she would be perfect, because you have to think about somebody who could quote unquote pass in both worlds. And I think that, I could totally see her in this role.
I thought of Meghan Markle too, but I figured she was probably kind of busy. She's got her hands full. So I cast an actress who played her in a Lifetime movie, and that's Parisa Fitz-Henley. So great minds, Sin.
I actually chose two actors, Tessa Thompson and Ruth Nega. Both of them are biracial. But the reason I picked these two actors is because they actually star in an upcoming film that just premiered at Sundance called Passing, which is based on a book which is about this kind of story. Two friends, biracial, one chooses to pass for white and the other doesn't. It is directed by Rebecca Hall, whose mother is biracial but never revealed it, and Rebecca only discovered it recently. And so Rebecca is the Kennedy.
Oh my gosh, she's
story.
Kennedy. I was about to say she's Kennedy.
That's right. Rebecca Hall is the Kennedy of this film, and she's now she wrote the screenplay and she directed this film, and it's one of the hot properties coming out of Sundance. And so I wanted to get us excited, because for those of us who thought this was fiction, it's not fiction what Britt Bennett did. This happens, and Rebecca Hall is an example of it.
Thank you for sharing that, Lainey. I can't wait to see it. Okay, ladies, it's time to reveal our next social chapter selection. We're going with A Boob's Life, How America's Obsession Shaped Me and You by Leslie Lear. So this is a memoir, and it explores the hilarious and heartbreaking truths about what it means to have, breasts. So it's set to be turned into an HBO Max comedy series. Selma Hayek is behind the project, so it's going to be good.
Oh my gosh, I can finally wear my pointy bras on this show. I'm so excited. I'm just kidding.
I'm not going to wear any bra.
All right, if you want to read along with us, go ahead and do so. And then don't forget to use the hashtag, #TheSocialChapter, in your journey through this book. Everybody, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.